Okay, this is part two of scientific notation, computing scientific notation. How to. So right now we're focusing on adding and subtracting. Add or subtract. Very important. Okay? So we're working on adding and subtracting, so let's go over our rules. Step number one, make the exponents have equal value. So an example would be both have 10 to the fifth. Step two, to make exponents equal, add or subtract. To the exponent value. Then move your decimal that many places. All right? And I'm going to show you all of this. Step three, regroup. Step four, I'm going to shrink this a little bit. All right. So step three, regroup. And we're going to regroup by factoring out the exponent, the like exponents. Step four, we're going to add or subtract. We're going to compute. And step five, convert if needed. Convert to scientific notation if needed. All right. Adding and subtracting is a little bit harder than multiplying and dividing in this particular case, but just bear with me. I want you to first look at your problems 1, 2, 3, and 4. And if you notice, you will see, you'll see a plus sign in between the parentheses. You'll see a minus sign in between the parentheses, a plus sign. This is very important, a minus sign. You'll see those. Those are very important to pick out, and those tell me I have to do a 5-step rule instead of a 3-step rule that you will learn about in a moment. All right, let's look at number 1. I have the quantity of 4.3 times 10 to the ninth plus the quantity of 3.6 times 10 to the ninth. Right here, I look at my exponents first. It says make the exponents have equal value. All right, so I have 10 to the ninth, 10 to the ninth. They already have equal value, so I don't have to do anything. So I'm really on step 3 now. Regroup by factoring out the exponent. So I'm going to pull these out. All right, so I keep 4.3, I keep my plus, and I keep 3.6. I put that in parentheses, and what I pulled out was 10 to the ninth. All right, so I kept 4.3, I kept 3.6, I pulled out a 10 to the ninth. 10 to the ninth, 10 to the ninth. So now I got 10 to the ninth on the outside of the parentheses. Okay? Now, step 4 says I can compute 4.3 plus 3.6. You have to remember, if you're not using the calculator, we have to line up the decimals and we have to add up the place values. So I have a 3 in the tenths place, a 6 in the tenths place. 3 tenths plus 6 tenths is 9 tenths. And 4 ones plus 3 ones is 7 ones. So I got 7.9 times 10 to the ninth power. Is this in scientific notation? Yes, it is, because this number is between 1 and 10. So I am done. Number 2. Step 1 tells me I need to make sure that I have like exponents. So I have a 10 to the negative 3 here and a 10 to the negative 3. I've already gone through and highlighted that I'm doing a negative. That's very important. So I got 10 to the negative 3, 10 to the negative 3. So now I'm going to regroup by factoring out my 10 to the 3. So I have 8.36 minus 2.16. Put that in parentheses, and I factored out a 10 to the negative 3. All right. So 8.36 minus 2.16 equals 6.2. So I have 6.2 times 10 to the negative 3. Is this in scientific notation? Yes, it is, because 6.2 is between 1 and 10. Let's do another one. Number 3. 4.1 times 10 to the 5th plus 3.78 times 10 to the 6th. So I underline my exponents because I want to make sure they're the same. As soon as I underline them, I see this is 10 to the 5th, but this is to the 6th. So I need to make them the same. And what we're actually going to do is whichever one is smaller, we're going to go ahead and make it bigger. Okay? Always make the smaller one bigger. We're going to add that to our notes. Right here, make the smaller exponent match the larger. Exponent. Okay? Make the smaller exponent match the larger exponent. So let's look at this. So the one I'm going to change is the 10 to the 5th. So what I want to do is I want to add 1 to this 5, because in order to get to 6, I need to add 1. So I'm going to rewrite my problem just to make it hopefully a little clearer. Okay? My goal is to add 1 here. And so we know if I add 1 here, I got to make this a little smaller. Okay? because numbers greater than 1 are what get positive exponents. All right, so we're always going to make, whichever one we're adding to, we're always going to make smaller. So my new number is 0.41 times 10 to the 6 plus 3.78 times 10 to the 6. All right, so that was our first time having to make the exponents match, and now they match. I got a 10 to the 6, I got a 10 to a 6. The next step is factoring out, so this was step 1 and step 2. This was step 3. So now it's time to factor out, I'm sorry. Let me go back. This was step 1, step 2. Now we're doing step 3. All right, let's get it factored out. So I'm factoring out the 10 to the 6. So I have 0.41 plus 3.78. And I factored out a 10 to the 6 is what I hope you said. All right. 0.41 plus 3.78 is 4.19. So my final answer is 4.19 times 10 to the 6. Now, I bet you're wondering, well, why couldn't I just subtract 1 from the other one and make that number bigger? You are totally welcome to do that, but I will promise you it will end up being more work. You will have to end up doing that step 5 of converting it back into scientific notation. All right? And please remember, if there's something you don't understand, something I'm doing that makes absolutely no sense, leave me a note so I can try to re-explain it, so I can try to fix it and find a better way to get that information to you. All right, quantity of 9.4 times 10 to the third minus the quantity of 5.8 times 10 to the second. Step 1, make sure my exponents match. All right, they do not, so now I need a step 2. Step 2, so I need to find a way to make a match. So right now I have a 3 here and I have a 2 here. So this is my smaller one, so I need to add 1. If I add 1, I need to move my decimal 1 place to the left. All right, so my new problem is 9.4 times 10 to the third. That quantity minus 0.58 times 10 to the third. So now they match. So now I can do step 3 where I factor it out. So I'm factoring out this 10 to the third. So I need the 9.4, I need the minus, and I need the 0.58. And that's times 10 to the third. All right, 9.4 minus 0.58 equals 8.82. 8.82 times 10 to the third. Because it's already in scientific notation, I don't need to do anything else to it. That is adding and subtracting that is adding and subtracting with scientific notation. All right, now let's go to multiplying and dividing. So this one just has, this was a little easier. This one has 3 steps. So step 1 is regroup. Like exponents and coefficients. Okay, that's step 1. Step 2 is compute. And step 3 is convert, if needed. Convert. scientific notation. Okay? Let's look at these problems. If you notice, when you look at these problems, if I look right here, I do not see a plus or minus. This is all multiplication. Multiplication. Okay? If I look here, this is division. All right? So no pluses or minuses. No pluses or minuses. All right? Hope you guys can see that. Always look in the center looking for that plus or minus. So let's start to solve these. Step 1, I have to regroup. So I have 3.2 and 1.75. Those are my coefficients. And then I have 10 to the 5th and 10 to the 3rd. Those are my exponents. So we're just going to regroup. That's step 1. So over here I'm going to have 3.2 times 1.75 parentheses. And then in this one I'm going to have 10 to the 5th times 10 to the 3rd. Right? So then I need my calculator. 3.2 times 1.75. So I have 5.6 times, because remember, nothing's there, that's multiplication. Then I need to remember my exponent laws. They have the same base, so I can add the exponents. So 10 to the 5 plus 3, which is going to be 10 to the 8th. So my final answer is 5.6 times 10 to the 8th. Nice and easy. Look how quick that was. Is this in scientific notation? Yes, it is, because 5.6 is between 1 and 10. All right. Let's look at number 2. Number 2, when it's set up as a fraction like this, it makes it a little easier to regroup. So step 1 is regroup. I'm going to put my coefficients together. Then I'm going to put my exponents together. And so step 1 is the 7.68 divided by 4.8. 7.68 divided by 4.8 times 10 to the 11th over 10 to the 7th. All right? So 7.68 divided by 4.8 is 1.6 times, my rule when I'm dividing, they have the same base, is I can subtract. So I have 10 to the 11 minus 7. So I can just rewrite that as 1.6 times 10 to the 11 minus 7 is 4. 1.6 is written in scientific notation, so we are done with that. Let's look at our last two. All right. Let's look at our last two. I'm going to regroup, so I got 9.4. Let me stick with my colors. Let me stick with my colors. 9.4 and 3. And then I have 10 to the negative second power and 10 to the 7th power. So step 1 is regroup. So let's do that. And group over here is 9.4 times 3. And then I have 10 to the negative second power times 10 to the 7th. 9.4 times 3, 28.2. times, my rule is I can add these together, so I have 10 to the negative 2 plus 7 power. And when I look at this, I already see 28.2. Wow, that is huge. Because scientific notation is only supposed to be between 1 and 10. So I need to move my decimal. I really need to move my decimal. So this number is bigger than 1, so I need to make it a little smaller. Since it's bigger than 1, I know I'm going to have a positive addition to it. So instead of 28.2, I moved the decimal once to make it 2.82. And since I only moved it once, I added plus 1 over here. Okay? So if the number's bigger than 1, I'm going to add whatever I move, however many times I move the decimal. If it was smaller than 1, I'm going to subtract however many times I move the decimal. All right? So my new number, 2.82 times negative 2 plus 7 is 5, and 5 plus 1 is 6, so 10 to the 6th power. So this was that step 3 that we haven't really been doing. Step 3. All right, last one. Grouping together the things that go together. So I got 3.9 divided by 7.5, and then I got 10 to the 9th over 10 to the 5th. Let's do our calculations. 3.9 divided by 7.5 is 0.52 times, and then I got 10 to the 9th, and this is division, so we're subtracting, minus 5. I can look at 0.52 and I say that's a little too small for scientific notation. Too small. Okay? Too small. So I need to make it a little bigger. And since this number is too small, I'm going to be subtracting. So I need to move this once. And so I need to subtract 1. All right? So my new number is 5.2 times 10. So 9 minus 5 is 4. And 4 minus 1 is 3. 10 to the 3rd power. I hope that you understand this. Remember, leave me a note if you don't. And I hope you have a great weekend. Thank you.